I'd like to welcome you all for this afternoon's webinar based on case report form design and the strategies and standards that we use when we are considering designing our case report forms for data collection. So our learning objectives for today will include the data management focus on the protocol review to identify data requirements. Whenever we receive a protocol from sponsor, we really have to dissect it to see exactly what data points are required to allow for the hypotheses that's presented in the protocol to be captured statistically. We'll also discuss the best practices for the ECRF design, and these best practices for case report form design are taken from the Society of Clinical Data Management, Good Clinical Data Management Practices. We will also discuss the need for the customization of case report forms, in other words, taking, let's say, standardized forms and customizing them specifically for therapeutic areas and those needs to capture those specific data that are identified in the protocol. There are some standards associated with data collection for clinical trials. CDISC, C-D-I-S-C, is the data structure standard. That CDASH, which is the standards for the case report forms. And these two standards talk to each other in order to identify the appropriate data format that the FDA requires for submission for new drug applications. And finally, we will identify the data compatibility issues that happen between, let's say, a data management department and those vendors that supply safety laboratory, ECG data, imaging data, and that kind of thing, so that we need to ensure that we have appropriate data integration within the final database and those things that we need to implement when we're going forward with those activities. So based on definition, there are multiple definitions of a case report form. Here, a CRF is defined as the record of data and other information collected on each subject that's participating in a trial as defined by the protocol. And again, the clinical protocol is the driver as to what information we will be collecting in order for the biostatistics department to prove or disprove the theory that's put forth in the protocol. The ICH definition, which is one that is basically the standard definition now, and it's a printed optical or electronic document. Back in the day when I first started in clinical data management, all the case report forms were always paper. Now, finally, after 20-plus years, we're finally getting into the electronic age where we're using, not necessarily 100% because I'm still training classes where people are still using paper, but we are using an electronic format to collect data. The working definition is a tool designed by the sponsor to capture the transcription of protocol-specific subject data from source documents. So source documents are different from case report form. Source documents will capture significantly more data than what is required in a case report form. And basically, as I mentioned earlier, the case report forms are strictly based on the protocol. So when we look at the purpose of the case report form, and the purpose is to collect the data that will allow us to answer the hypotheses that is expressed in the protocol, so that it will state, and part of protocols when you receive them, sometimes the title of the protocol puts forth the hypotheses as well. You're doing a comparator study that's looking at A versus B, and in your primary objective, you'll have listed there that you're going to prove that compound X is better than the standard of care by measuring certain endpoints. Also, the case report form will provide the relevant safety data that's related to the drug. We have to provide those safety data along with all of the other efficacy data to the agencies so that the safety of the drug can be evaluated. And the case report form is there to ensure that the precise collection, the collation, and the analysis and reporting of the data is appropriate.